Wakinyan is the thunder being and represents cleansing. And lots of times we have ceremonies where Wakinyan is a part of it. First of all, Wakinyan is a being that is both genders at the same time. I could say a hermaphrodite. Now, this is not transgender, this is not transsexual, this is not homosexual, this is something completely different. A hermaphrodite is a person who's both male and female at the same time. So they're both at the same time. There are humans who are born this way, and this is very special. This is sacred. But in the Western world, people regard them as freaks and they make fun of them. Some hermaphrodites, they don't understand why they are this way because the Bible says something like this is evil. Or other cultures may have another explanation that may not be good either. But in the Lakota world, it's a very sacred thing. Yeah, it's very sacred. And with Wakinyan, when she presents itself in female, then it's Wakinyan. Wakinyan is the female representation of this sacred being. And she comes to cleanse the earth, so she represents cleansing. And anything that is out of balance, she will cleanse it. The cleansing is accomplished by lightning, it's accomplished by thunder, the noise, the boom, all of that, that's all cleansing. For the ground, it puts nitrogen in the ground so that things can grow. And sometimes a fire might happen, but that's okay. Because from the fire, nitrogen is going to go into the ground so that things can grow. So these are some ways that she cleanses the earth. And many years ago, the people were under the earth, but they were just created. And there was a giant bear who wanted to become a member of an organization called Wakantanka. Now today in the Christian world, Lakota Christian people, they define Wakantanka as God, as a one supreme being. But this is false. Okay, that's false. That's a Christian definition that's tainting a very sacred organization. It's a group. Okay, Wakantanka is a group of people. And this bear, he wanted to become a member of that. He was a very giant bear, and he walked upright, so they called him Hunum. Hu means legs, and Num is short for Numpa, which means two. So this is the reason why we consider bears two-legged. Among creation, Lakota people, ancient Lakota people, categorize everything into four categories. And this can be as the winged, so anything that flies, that's one group, and they're called Hupahu. And then we have the four-legged, and these are Hutopa. And then the two-legged, Hunum, which are bears and humans. And that which moves and grows, Dakushkan, they call it. So that's plants, other animals that don't fit into the other categories. Now they fit into this one. So that's just a little description. That's called Wamakashkan. Okay, the whole thing. So we're a part of it. We are a part of Wamakashkan. Whereas Christians believe they are above. That Christians believe that humans are above everything else. But in the Lakota world, humans are a part of everything. We are not above it. Okay? That's the difference. Okay. So, this giant bear wants to join this organization called Wakantanka, and he has an idea. He oftentimes pretends to sleep outside the meeting area where these Wakantanka meet, and he listens to what they say. So from this activity, he learns their songs. And then he has an idea. He's going to talk to the people under the earth, and he's going to teach them some of these songs. And He's taught them how to make drums and rattles, and then he taught them one of the songs of the Wakantanka. And he said, they're going to really like it. The Wakantanka are really going to like it that you're singing their song. And so the leader of the people, they're going to want to make him a member of the Wakantanka. The leader's name at that time was Tatanka. That's just a name. At this point, it's just a name, because at this point, there's no buffalo yet. Because a lot of people think Tatanka means buffalo. But at this time in the story, there are no buffalo yet. They're not created yet. Okay, so at this time, Tatanka is just a name. By the way, Tatanka means buffalo bull. Buffalo is Ptechchaka. Okay, so again, buffalo is Ptechchaka. Tatanka is a buffalo bull. But in this point in time, there's no buffalo yet. Okay, so this leader, his name is Tatanka. The people, when they lived under the earth, they are called Pte Oyate. They're not human, but they're not animal either. They're something different. But they're human in form, like us, yeah, arms and legs and things like that. So when they are there, there's all kinds of stories that happen among them. They're really interesting stories too. But anyway, the leader, his name is Tatanka, and this bear is saying that when you guys are going to sing this Wakantanka song, the Wakantanka are really going to like it. And they're going to ask the leader to become a member of this organization. And the plan will be that he will only accept it if the bear is allowed to join too, because the bear taught them these songs. This was the plan. So the leader of the Pte people, the people under the earth, he agreed to it. This Tatanka, he agreed to it. So then the bear showed Tatanka how to make drums and rattles, and he taught them a song. And then in turn, Tatanka taught the people how to do this. And the bear said that when they meet nearby, that to start singing. So the bear said he would tell them when to start singing and playing the drum. So you have hundreds of thousands of people here. So you can imagine there's a lot of drums. A lot of drums and rattles. So they were all proceeding to make their drums and rattles, and in the meantime, Hunum was following these Wakantanka in their meetings, pretending to sleep outside of where they were meeting. And all that time he's listening. So he's learning their ways. The bear is learning the ways of the Wakantanka. So now it's going to be time. They're going to have a meeting near where the people are living, near where the Pte people are living. And so the bear comes and tells Tatanka, okay, start singing. So they all get their drums and they start singing this song. And women are standing there with the rattles around the drum, and they're shaking the rattles while the men are drumming, and everybody is singing this song. And you hear this boom, 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 really loud. Because imagine that, several 100,000 people drumming at the same time under the earth. The earth is going to move. So the first one to hear this was Wakinyan, the thunder being. She heard this and she thought maybe it's another Wakinyan. So she flew, trying to find the sound, and she was able to locate it. And then she went under the ground to see what was going on, and she saw all these people playing their drums and singing this song. It's a very beautiful song. It's a song of thanksgiving, is what they were singing. And so she let them finish, because in Lakota, when you sing a song, you sing it at least 4 times. So she let them finish. When a thunder being is in your presence, you don't make eye contact. Okay? This is where our tradition comes from, of not looking people in the eyes. It's a sign of respect. She said to them she was really happy, and the people were scared. They were so scared because there's a thunder being standing there. They're really scared. And she says, you really, really made me feel good. And I'm going to give power to your drums to clean, to cleanse the area. So when she did this, something happened to all their drums. Now the drums have the power of Wakinyan. So she said, anytime you're feeling sad, anytime you're feeling lonely, lonesome, or troubled, disturbed, she said, beat the drum. Just beat the drum. You don't even have to sing. She said, just beat the drum in a steady beat, and it'll go away. So none of this, none of that. Just boom, 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 boom. And not the Hollywood beat either. Yeah, not that boom, 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 boom. It's supposed to be a steady beat. The sound of the drum is going to cleanse the area. And if you don't have a drum, use rattles because it does the same thing. And if you don't have rattles either, then clap your hands. Find something to make a noise. And that noise is what cleanses the area. That's what we learned from there. Very beautiful. Then she talks to the leader, Tatanka. She says, I want to bring you before the Wakantanka Council. And I'm going to tell them what happened. And they'll make you a member of their Wakantanka. So the leader, Tatanka, he says, I will go only if we can go with Hunum, the giant bear, because he was the one who taught us how to do this. So Wakinyan said, that's good. So let's go. So the three of them went to this Wakantanka council and they talked about this, and the Wakantanka were really impressed. And so they made both of them Wakantanka, the Tatanka, the leader, and also Hunum, the giant bear. He was made a member. So they were given responsibilities. Hunum, the giant bear, is the representation of wisdom. And Tatanka is to protect women, the chastity of women. He's kind of like the guardian of women. It's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful story. So that's how we got the drum. And this is how the drum is used for healing. And like I said, even if you're feeling bad, to hit the drum, same thing. You can do that there too. So that shows you the cleansing nature of Wakinyan and her power. Now, there was a time where some creatures were created by a woman who lives in the water, and they were created to cause trouble because something happened to her. And it was unjust. She received an injustice from the earth, because at this time the earth was very immature. The earth was brand new, very young, and often made mistakes, and was very temperamental. She was like a spoiled little kid. And she threw this woman in the water. Her name was Unk. And Unk in the beginning was very beautiful, friendly, but the earth became jealous and threw her in the water and made her stay there. So Unk, she didn't do anything wrong. So she wanted to cause trouble for the earth. So she created these beings to go on the earth and cause trouble for the earth. So these beings can live on the earth, and they can also live in the water. So you can imagine what those are. And some of them are giants. They're called Unkje-ri or Unkje-ri-la. The small ones are Unkje-ri-la. So when these Unkje-ri beings were coming on the earth, boy, they were causing problems. So when any time an Unkje-ri came on the earth, Wakinyan would go and destroy it, because she's cleansing. Unkje-ri, they cause problems, they cause trouble. They bring contention. And they really stink, so they smell disturbing. They make you disturbed. When you smell their odor, it really makes you disturbed. That's how bad they smell. So Wakinyan would destroy them to cleanse the earth. And usually these battles occur near water because they come out from the water and they try to fight with Wakinyan, but then when they lose, they try to go back to the water. So she's trying to destroy them before they get into the water because she can't go in the water. So that's why a lot of these battles happen along rivers, and this is what you know today as tornadoes. These are battles happening. So the problem was Wakinyan couldn't go in the water. One day she saw a turtle and noticed that the turtle lives in the water but also comes on the ground, earth. So she asked the turtle to help her, and the turtle was kind of like, he didn't care about anything. He didn't even care about the other Unkjeji or Unkjejila. The turtle was a devil-may-care kind of attitude. He didn't really care. So the turtle said, well, why should I care? So Wakinyan said, think about it. He said, if I give you cleansing power, you can cleanse the water. Everything needs water. The plants need water. Animals need water to drink, to live. Everything on this earth needs water. And if you have the power to keep it clean, that's going to make you a very, very important part of this world. And so the turtle said, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So they made a pact. They formed into an alliance, a very sacred alliance. So the turtle has the power of Wakinyan. This is why turtles are very, very sacred. They're the most sacred animal on this earth. I'm not kidding. Because without water, we are nothing. Even eagles have the tru of Sicangu, which is one of the members of the Wakantanka. They have that in their feathers. But the turtle is still more sacred than that. Because you see, an eagle cannot live without water. You see what I mean? So turtles are considered the most sacred of all. And people don't realize that. So if you see one on the roadside, stop in your car or your bike and help it cross the road. He's trying to get to some water. He has a job to do. He's going to clean the water. So this is how the turtle was able to destroy the Unkjehila that we cannot see with our eyes. So what do you think that is? Some microorganisms. That's why it's good if you're going to have a pond at your house to have fish in there or whatever. Make sure you put a turtle there. It'll keep it clean. It'll keep the water safe so everything can live that's in there. So that's how the sacred union between Wakinyan and the turtle began. Pretty cool combination. You have this huge, giant being and this little tiny turtle. And together they cleanse the earth and the water. Isn't that cool? I like that. I really like that. So that's how we regard the turtle. It's a very sacred animal. When the people come on the earth, the 4 directions are made, and the first direction is west. I'm going to focus on this one. I'm not going to tell the direction story. That's another topic, but I'm just going to focus on the west. This is the first direction, and its color is black. And it represents birth, beginning. Whereas in the Christian world, black is death, the dark side, limbo, hell, evil, demons. That's what the Christian world regards black as, but in the Lakota world, black is a good color because it represents birth. It represents beginning, new life. That's birth. It's a beautiful thing. And Wakinyan lives in the west. So when they were going to make the west direction, they had to go inside her teepee. She has a teepee, a giant teepee that's made out of giant cedar trees in the west. So when they were going in there, one of the four brothers, the one that was supposed to make the west direction, he was supposed to go to the opposite side of the entrance because her entrance was facing where the sun comes up. So he had to go to the west side of the teepee and make the first direction, the west direction. When he walked into this lodge, a giant eye opened, yeah? And he looked at it and everything went goofy inside of him. This was a Wakinyan, it's a thunder being. They're really giant. Wakinyan said, do what you're supposed to do. So he went and made that direction. And ever since then, this man has alliance to Wakinyan. This is another alliance for Wakinyan to this man. When he came out, his brothers noticed that he was different. His clothes were on backwards and hair was in front of his face. His moccasins were inside out, and he came out. His brothers, he said, are you okay? And he said, no, I'm really not good, he said. And the thing is, he came out walking backwards. And when he came out, he said, Doksha Ake, he said. He's supposed to say hi. And here he said, Doksha Ake, which is our way of saying until next time. We don't have a word for goodbye in our language. And so the boys were like, huh? They were confused. He looked just goofy, yeah, because his clothes were backwards. His moccasins were inside out, and his hair was in front of his face. He was walking backwards, and he was talking weird. As soon as they realized he's talking an opposite. He's saying the opposite of what he means. One instruction he got from Wakinyan was that whenever he needs help, call her name. So how do you think this guy, if he needs Wakinyan's help, how do you think he would call her name? From what information that I just gave to you. Is he going to say, Wakinyan, I need your help? Is he going to say that? What do you think? I'll let you think about that, yeah? But he was the first Heyoka among the people. This is the male representation of Wakinyan. Remember, I said it's hermaphrodite. This is a sacred being. When Wakinyan presents itself as male, it's Heyoka. Heyokas do everything in opposite. They do everything backwards. And oftentimes it makes people laugh. And this is cleansing. Laughter is cleansing. And sometimes when you're in trouble and you don't know how to get out, one way they teach you is to do everything backwards. And then you see the solution after that. So a Heyoka can do that. They're sacred people. And since this is the male representation of Wakinyan, only men can be Heyoka. So then the way you become Heyoka, though, is that you have to receive a vision, in which in this vision, the thunder and lightning is going to do something. So just because you dream about lightning, that doesn't mean you're supposed to be Heyoka. It has to do something. In the Lakota world, when you dream of seeing something, that doesn't mean anything. It's the action of what that thing is doing. If you dream about a horse, that doesn't mean anything. But what is the horse doing? Because that action of the horse defines the dream. Okay? That's dream protocol. So same thing applies here. The thunder and lightning has to do something. And only holy people know this protocol. So when you dream of thunder and lightning, you better find one and tell them what you saw, because this might be a call for you to be Heyoka for at least 1 year. You have to have a very understanding wife if you're married, yeah? Because you're going to be saying, I hate you. And she has to understand that what that means is that you love her. So this is how we got that Heyoka concept. It's all about cleansing and healing. Wakinyan Heyoka. It's all about cleansing and healing. Another thing that we get from Heyoka and Wakinyan is that when the thunderstorm comes, burn cedar. As you hear the thunder and see the lightning, start burning cedar. Because when the smell goes up, Wakinyan will smell that. And remember what I said, her teepee is made out of cedar. So when she smells this, she flies around it because this is her home. So this is why we don't have stories of tornadoes wiping out teepee camps. Because our ancestors, as soon as they heard Wakinyan, they started burning cedar. So all the cedar smoke goes up into the sky. When she smells it, she flies around it because that's a signal that there's people there. See? Isn't that beautiful? So you can adopt that concept. Go buy some cedar and you can practice this. This is a Lakota way of life. And since these battles happen beside rivers, big rivers, this is why Indians didn't set up camp along the Mississippi River in America or on the Florida coastlines or the California coastlines. They didn't set up camp because they know these things happen. Hurricanes, same thing. So when you see intense thunderstorms happening around the world, this is part of the cleansing that's going to happen now. It's just the beginning. Lakota Star Knowledge stories tell us that all of this happened before, but there was a way for people to survive. And it begins by living with the earth instead of trying to control it. You have to really watch the earth. You have to be in tune with it. You hear the voice of the earth at your sacred center. And that's where you'll know where to go for safety. Because humans survived the last cleansing. They were the only ones who were living this way, though, this peaceful way. Everyone else was destroyed. One more thing I want to say concerning Wakinyan, and this involves the west direction. Remember what I said, is that west represents beginning, rebirth. And remember what I said too, the sacred center begins within you. And it's in your mind. How you think really affects the way you live. And emotions come from that. Sometimes things go wrong. For whatever reason. You know, it could be maybe somebody gets in a car accident and they bang up their head really bad, or sometimes they experience something incredibly traumatic and it just messes up their mind. Or sometimes they're just born this way. Maybe there's a chemical reaction in the body when the woman is pregnant and it affects the development of the person's brain and something goes wrong. Well, there is a way to deal with that, and that involves Wakinyan. It involves Heyoka, and it involves the west direction and everything that represents the west direction. That power from the west direction is used to cure mental illness. This is a very, very sacred thing. In Lakota ancient society, there's a ceremony that regards mental illness. And the fact that we have this ceremony, that shows you that we had mental illness. Yeah, that mental illness existed before white people came. Because a lot of racist Indian activists, they like to say that white people brought all diseases. They think that we were all disease free and everything messed up when the white people came. And that's not true. That is racism. Because look at all these herbs, these herbal remedies that different Indian tribes have all over North and South America. If we were disease free, we wouldn't need these things. But the fact that we have these cures, that means we had diseases. Because why would you have a cure if there was no disease? That's like walking around with a plate and knife, fork, and spoon and saying, I don't need any food, but I like the way these things look. Who does that? Yeah. Just off guys do that. Yeah? But you see, mental illness. See, it shows you that we did have these diseases. The fact that we have these ceremonies shows you that we had these diseases before white people came. So white people did not bring mental illness. We had it already. Hey, we're all humans. Yeah? We're all humans all over this world, and we're going to get the same kind of diseases. That's how it is. So we had this. And the ceremony, I'm not going to say everything on it because I don't want the New Agers to go out there in some parking lot and try and do this. But I'm just going to talk about it. That it does involve the west direction. It involves Wakinyan and Heyoka. Heyoka is the male representation of Wakinyan. Wakinyan is female. But when she expresses herself as Heyoka, she's male. So it's like she's both. She's both genders. A type of hermaphrodite. So this is the reason why only men can be Heyoka, is because it's the male expression of thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning is female. This is really ancient stuff I'm telling you here. Some people might disagree with me, but this is coming from Lakota Star knowledge. And so the West is associated with birth. It's associated with cleansing and beginning. So in this sense, the color black is used to represent the west direction. The teaching goes is that if you don't have black, if you're doing something with the directions, and if you don't have any black, you can use dark blue. But it should be black. This represents beginning, birth, cleansing, purification. This is how the earth was created. This is why in the sweat lodge it's dark. Because it's the beginning. It's a cleansing. It's a birth. It's a new beginning. So these things are important. And when men dream of thunder and lightning constantly, and they better talk to a medicine person about that, because it might mean that Wakinyan is calling them to be Heyoka, and they have to be Heyoka for at least 1 year. Heyoka does everything backwards. They speak the opposite of what they mean. They dress funny. Their clothes are inside out. They walk backwards, as I said. The simplest tasks, like sitting on a chair, they make it really difficult. Yeah? And the result can be really funny. And this is their cleansing. They're bringing laughter. And laughter is probably one of the most important parts of these kind of ceremonies because it starts a cleansing process. It begins a cleansing process. Then the treatment can be administered to the patient. So this is what Heyokas do. And like I said, The only way a person can be Heyoka is, number one, he's got to be a man. Because, like I said, Heyoka is the male representation of thunder and lightning. And they have to dream of a lot of thunder and lightning. And even in their conscious reality of being awake, it seems like wherever they go, it's always thunder and lightning. And so they get concerned. So that's why I said they need to talk to a medicine person right away and describe the dream. Because if it's a call, it has to follow a certain protocol. We have dream societies in ancient Lakota culture, and these societies, they are set on certain protocols that happen in dreams. So the thunder and lightning has to do a certain thing in the dream. And if it does do the correct thing, then that man has to be Heyoka for at least 1 year. Another thing that comes into play too is this natural law of generosity. And that is how you communicate. That energy goes out and it returns to you 4 times as strong. So when it's healthy, it's going to come back to you as a really nice blessing. If it's unhealthy, it's going to come back to you and really mess you up, because it's going to come back to you more unhealthy. 4 times as unhealthy. And what Heyokas are doing is they make people laugh. And that is a healthy communication. That is a healthy communication. So when they're helping others by making them feel good, by doing funny things to make them laugh, they're sending out a healthy communication, and that's going to come back to them 4 times and bless them. So it does seem difficult for Heyoka, because all day long they have to do everything backwards. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. It's 24/7 for at least 1 year. So it's not easy. Even when they're in a bad mood, they have to be funny. So it's hard. Yeah, it's really hard to do. Nevertheless, sometimes when a man has a difficulty that he's trying to find the solution for, and it's really hard, sometimes he will talk to a medicine man about this, or he could talk to a Heyoka about this. And the Heyoka could give him like a temporary calling in which this man will then be Heyoka too for a year, because he's making people laugh, and that's healthy energy that's he's sending to others. So that's going to come back to him 4 times as strong because of this natural law of generosity. And that means it's going to help him. So that might help him find a solution to his difficulty. That's an alternate way of being Heyoka. But this really requires special permission. This is not something you play with. This is absolutely not something you play with. So, if the man is supposed to be Heyoka, let's say that a guy, he dreams of thunder and lightning, and he talks to a medicine person, and the medicine person says, okay, yeah, it followed the protocol. The dream followed the protocol that is set for Heyoka. So now this man has to be Heyoka for at least a year. And so whenever there's ceremonies that involve cleansing, a Heyoka can go there. So sometimes they go inside sweat lodge ceremonies. Sometimes they're inside sweat lodge ceremonies, because sweat lodge, Inipi, this is about cleansing. And sometimes it's scary, because you're sitting inside the sweat lodge and all of a sudden there's somebody standing right in front of you, and he's telling you you're going to die tonight. You're going to die because you did something really bad. And the grandfathers know what you did. You deceived a lot of people, and tonight you're going to die. Then if a guy hears that, he's like, oh shit, what did I do? And then if you don't know, it could really freak you out. See what that was a Heyoka, and you have to translate that to the opposite. That means you're going to live because you did a lot of nice things for a lot of people. You're a good person. Keep doing what you're doing. That's what he means. But when it comes out opposite. So that's why it can get scary. So this happened to a friend of mine. He said he really freaked out. Yeah, he he started panicking, and so the medicine man had to calm him down. He said, "Don't worry." He said that was a Heyoka. He said, oh, okay. Whew, he really felt good after that. Oh shoot! So when you do ceremonies, you better know your stuff. Otherwise, something might scare you because you have lack of knowledge. Oh man! And he told me about that. Oh, that was just funny. Oh gosh. And anyway, and there's other ceremonies too, like this one I'm talking about concerning the west direction. And this is a ceremony that's done for people who sometimes have depression or maybe another mental illness. And they do this ceremony for them. And the other animals that are associated with the west direction are dogs. Dogs are associated with the west direction too. So in this ceremony, there's a part where they address the four directions, then they focus on the west, and then they'll say things like, call the thunders. And only Heyoka can do that. So how do you think a Heyoka calls the thunder? Remember, he speaks in opposites. So you can figure that out. I'm not going to say, but you can figure that out, I think. And then they come. And then there's certain things that happen in the ceremony. I'm not going to say what they are, but there's a certain kind of meat that the patient eats. It's supposed to be mainly for the patient, the person who is having a problem. This is from an animal that represents the west direction. All I'm going to say is that the meat has medicine from the west. That means it has cleansing medicine in it. And so that's the reason why they have to eat this, because when they eat this meat, the cleansing medicine from the west goes into the patient's body. And remember, the body, the mind, and the soul and the emotions are all connected. So then the medicine works its way to the mind to start to bring the person back. Hence, it's another version of calling the thunders. It's an internal calling the thunders kind of thing. And what this does is that it puts the healing medicine from the west to spread throughout the body, focusing on the mind. And then there's other things that happen that I can't tell you because it's sacred. But it involves healing and bringing the mind back in check, back in balance. And it's really a sacred thing because what's happening, see, remember the mind is very delicate. And when something like this happens, what the West energy is doing inside the patient's mind is it's rewiring that mind in the inside. It's rewiring it so that the depression will leave. If it's another mental illness or mental disorder, that it will leave. Voices will stop, for example. This is how they stop schizophrenia and stuff like that. It's a very hard thing, and it's a very difficult thing because it's a new birth, and birth is hard. Just think about that. When you come out of your mother's womb, it's just very difficult for both of you. When a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly, that's another kind of birth. It's really a struggle. And it has to happen so that the energy can go throughout the body to begin the new life. Hence the new beginning, the new rewiring the brain so that the person is like new again. So he's not really going back to his former self. It's like he's becoming a new person. Now imagine that, okay? Imagine what that can appear as. I'm not going to say anything more. I'm going to leave it up to your imagination about that. So this is one of the things they do. And then at the end of the ceremony, the Heyokas come in and they do their thing. They really have funny dances too. And this is beginning the healing process for this mental patient. In time, the disease will be gone because the brain is going to rewire. The West energy is going to rewire the brain. See, we have a cure for mental illness the whole time. And here, in the early days of the reservation, the government threw all the medicine men and women into a mental asylum in South Dakota. All the medicine men and women all over America, the Native American Indian medicine men and women all over America were thrown in this mental hospital in Canton, South Dakota. They sent them there to die. Isn't that funny? We had the cure to mental illness, and yet the American government threw our healers into a mental asylum. They had no idea they were throwing away the cure to mental illness. Isn't that crazy? That's the saddest irony ever, I think. I think that's really one of the saddest ironies you can think of, because these healers had the cures to mental illness, and yet they were thrown in a mental asylum to die. They did this so that the native people would have nobody to go to. This is how they got natives to go to church. Because in those times, in the beginning of the reservation, we were denied healthy food. So we became diabetic, we had hypertension, we got heart disease. At the same time, our language and ceremonies were declared illegal. So we were hit emotionally and spiritually. We were hit physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And remember what I said earlier, that the self has 4 parts. The physical body, the emotional self, the soul. And these 3 parts were hit at the same time when Indians were put on the reservations. And the mind was the 4th part. And since 3 parts were hit at the same time, we became weak-minded. And with the spiritual and medicine healers thrown into mental asylums, we had nobody to go to for advice. And so this is how they got us to come to church. And in our weak minds, we began to accept what these preachers were saying. So today, a lot of Indians, they don't want to accept or believe the things that we used to know. Just very few of us have this knowledge. I'm one of them, and that's why I have this show, to talk about it, to spread it, to spread this information so people are aware of who was really the civilized one here. We had the cure to mental illness, but the American government had bigger guns, and they oppressed us and brainwashed us. The churches brainwashed us into changing our way of thinking to something dualistic. That's why I talk about duality all the time, because we have to know that this is learned, and we have to unlearn it. If we're going to save this earth, we have to unlearn duality. And then we save each other, and we save ourselves. We free ourselves. So with the ceremony, it's like I said, it's really a difficult thing. And what's happening is the brain is rewiring itself with the medicine energy from the west direction that is in the meat that they eat from this animal that represents the west. So This is for mental patients, for people who have mental illnesses and mental disorders. So we had the cure. It is a very special ceremony. I don't think anybody does it anymore, but my mother's seen it when she was young. So she described it to me, and it's really amazing what they do. The horses dance during the ceremony. I'm not kidding. They use horses in there because horses represent the West, and they dance in this ceremony. It's really interesting. She said when they sing this four direction song, the horses face the four directions all by themselves. They just do it on their own. It's really interesting. Horses are very, very sacred. And so are dogs. People don't realize that because the dogs are also representing the West. So, like I said, this kind of meat is only for people who have mental illness. So if you eat this meat and you do not have mental illness, you're playing with fire. It's like you're asking for a mental illness. If you do not have mental illness and you eat this meat, then you might get mental illness because it's going to backfire on you. Lakota people don't know this today, and so some of them try to do it. Like I said, they're playing with fire. You have to have this knowledge, otherwise you're going to make a big mistake that could really mess you up mentally. So if you don't need it, then don't eat it. Hey, that rhymes. I didn't mean to do that. It just came out like that. No, this is if you don't have this illness, then you don't need to eat that meat. This is only for people who have mental illness. So anyway, this is a really old ceremony. The other things that happen in the ceremonies, the priests, they all saw this as devil worship. So when we were being brainwashed on the reservation, the priests told Indians not to talk about this because it comes from the devil. So a couple generations later, very few people know about this. And those who do know about it, they don't know the complete story. They don't know all the rules concerning that meat. So it's something that is very delicate, just like the mind is delicate. It's an amazing ceremony because it's curing somebody who has mental illness. And it really is hard. But there's a lot of compassion at the same time because you're making a new person. I just wanted to share that with you to show you who was really civilized back in the 1800s. Yeah, think about that. Oh gosh. Heyoka is a really interesting concept. What they're doing is cleansing too, because when you laugh, you're doing a kind of a cleansing. So this is why when you're going through difficulty, take some time to take a pause. Take maybe a couple hours just to forget it. Just forget the difficulty or the worry. If you're worried about something, just take a few hours and just forget about it. Just forget about it. Don't even think about it. It's not going to go away because you're not done with it. Yeah, but you can take a break. A lot of people don't realize that you can take a break from your difficulty. And go watch Mr. Bean. That's Washichu Heyoka, yeah? I'm serious, yeah. The guy doesn't realize it, but he's a Washichu Heyoka. Oh man, that guy's just hilarious. I really like that guy. I see all these episodes when when he was trying to cheat on a math exam and jumping off this diving board and buying all these things from this furniture shop and oh, that guy is nuts. No, seriously. You take some time away from your difficulty and do something that makes you feel good, that makes you laugh. It's okay. Take some time to take a break from your difficulty, from your hard time. It's okay. What you're doing is you're cleansing, you're clearing your mind out. And then you come back to it. And then you might get the answer if you do that. This is why humor is so important, my friends. This is why humor is so crucial to our lives. This is why on the reservation we've gone through so much shit, and we're still going through shit with corrupt tribal government, racism from non-Indian people in the schools, everywhere. We're still going through it, but Indians are funnier than hell. Lakota people are funnier than hell. Even though they're going through hard times, they take some time to tease themselves. It's so funny. And then it clears your mind. You feel good and you say, okay, now I'm going to solve my problem. So it's okay. Take some time away from feeling worried and scared from your difficulty and go do something or participate in something that makes you laugh, that makes you feel good. It's totally okay to do that. And then afterwards, you will not be afraid to come back to it because you feel better. You feel more confident. And now you're able to face it. You've gassed up your engine, so to speak. You've gassed up your car. You're the car. And you've gassed yourself up, and now you're ready to face it. Or you've recharged your batteries, so to speak, and now you're ready to face it. So recharging the batteries doesn't always mean going to a spa and listening to Enya music. No. Recharging can also be achieved by laughing. And then you clear your mind. It's a cleansing. So it's very much part of life. So there's a lot of information there about Wakinyan and power of the West and what that represents. And all of this is coming from Lakota Star Knowledge information. I just ask that you think about it, nothing more. And just be aware, though, that this is real. This is the real thing. And it always comes back to that first concept, that reality begins within. To read more about Lakota Star Knowledge spirituality, you can read my book called Wichocha Otechike. You can see the book cover on the right side of this screen. This book contains the information to what I talk about on my Lakota spirituality videos. To purchase this book, please click below where it says Show More. Clicking on that link will open up the description below, and there you will see a link called To Purchase My Books. As you will see, it's an eBay link. Click on that eBay link, and there you will see the information to get this book. Lila Pilamayelo. Thank you very much.